Okay, Ryan, good to see you. Welcome to this podcast. We're looking forward to hearing from you and Print Clever, which is clear from the background, and everything we have been doing together for the last year. I'd like for the listeners to hear a bit about you, the background of your company. So why don't we just jump straight into it?
Yes, thank you. Um, so we run a company called Print Clever. We've got fulfillment or manufacturing facilities in both the UK and America. Um, I started the business when I was 16, so that's 15 years ago now. Printing t-shirts in my mum and dad's garage, and then slowly from there, um, worked up into more and more products, more and more options, and then obviously across to America a few years ago.
What made you jump into apparel production or apparel printing?
Um, I'm honestly not sure. I was probably the only child ever to ask their mum and dad for a heat press for Christmas. I asked for, and that's what they brought me. And then I was printing t-shirts and selling them on eBay. Um,
That's so entrepreneurial. That's so cool. And now with 15 years behind you, when you look at this industry, broad strokes, like what excites you? What is it that you see in apparel print on demand right now?
for me, and really kind of what I'm spending a lot of time focusing on at the moment is AI and how this is just going to change everything. Um, that being the creators that are making content and being able to produce more faster and offer more, but then also how that can be used not only in the factories, but then how we look at what we're ordering, how we order the right stock, how we manufacture and how it impacts that, but then also how you get that out to your customers through marketing, through other channels. So for me, I think, and probably every industry, but AI will transform, in my opinion, this print world again very, very quickly.
Mm. And when you now, 2026, look at this industry, I mean, obviously the creator economy is growing really fast. E-commerce is growing really fast. What are like the challenges that you see in the industry, and if you can link that to your own production hub and your own production situation?
Mhm. We have from a manufacturing perspective, we have really, I would say, struggled over the last year or two to number one, keep up with demand and volume, and how we manage that, and then also the elements that come in on the side of that. So, have we got the right amount of stock? Are we stocking the right products? Are the needs of the customers changing in the terms of the products they're ordering or the styles? And not only trying to do that in the UK, but also trying to do that in America, and how we've scaled that. That's probably been the most challenging thing for us as Print Clever.
So if we look at this from procurement, production, and logistics, which is from GelatoConnect's perspective, kind of at the center of what we have built and what we are delivering. From your perspective, in those three buckets, how would you like categorize the challenges that you have been faced with, and how applicable is that to the industry's overall challenges, do you think?
I think relatively, probably most other printers have the same problems because while we think we're all different, we all are um, very similar in the way we work. Procurement side, as I just said, I think ensuring that we've got the right stock at the right time, um, in the right locations has been vital. And we have made mistakes there. We have made mistakes that have cost us a lot of money. On the workflow side, having a unified system that is not just apparel. We do a lot of products here. In fact, we started with apparel in the garage, then we actually went away from apparel because it was to do properly quite, let's say, quite an expensive route to market. We
Was that a
identified,
new Christmas present asked from your parents or?
well, it was a mug press after that. I think that was the
Okay,
birthday.
really? Okay.
Um, Garments fell away, and then we went down mugs, which then turned into posters and wall art, and then ceramics and cut and sew. We only really then went back to garments in 2020, 2021, when I felt like we had enough money to actually go and invest in it, and do it, and do it at a level where we knew we needed to be. So back to the main point, we run a lot of different production lines here, and all of them have very different print processes, different machinery, different set of skills, and ensuring that there's a solution there that fits all of that together and joins all of it together. That's been a challenge for us over the last couple of years, and I know of other printers that have similar challenges. On logistics, I'll give you a very good. Well, I don't know if whether topical is good or not, but even over the last few days, all of the issues that are now going on in the Middle East, oil prices going up, we've now already had messages with increased costs coming through on that side, and with pretty much immediate effect, um, on all of our UK shippers. And so everyone again then on logistics and how we manage that and how we work with all of those different providers, we just don't have scale today that you guys have and Gelato has, which I think somewhat shields you guys, whereas of course we don't have that protection because, um, you know.
So in logistics and procurement, you basically have kind of just the operational challenges with knowing what carrier to use and knowing what supplier to buy from and in what quantity. Um, and then if you bring that into, if we go through your pre-gelato and your post-deployment of gelato, and perhaps just for ease of our discussion here, why don't we start with procurement? If you can, and try if possible to bring as much numbers as you can to what have you seen before, what have you seen after? Because your current supplier is only providing the workflow for apparel. And then you decided to move to Gelato, and now we are your current supplier, and we support all of your production outside of apparel, into paper, into mugs. But let's start. We go to procurement and then workflow and then logistics. What has happened in procurement, pre and post?
Okay, yeah. So we used to live in a world where we would stock was managed quite well, in terms of locations and how we managed stock when it was physically in the building. Where that fell down was the actual ordering of the stock. So we would generally look at sell-through rates based on Excel spreadsheets. So we would kind of work out what stock we thought we were going to need over the next 3 to 6 months, how that might change, how that might look. That was all done manually. In fact, I spent a lot of my time doing that, which is probably not the best use of my time. Um, so on the actual what we wanted to buy, it was all manual spreadsheets. Obviously, on Gelato Procurement, we've started to use the AI tool, which predicts what we need when we need it, and that then affects the amount of stock that we need to have in the building. Depending on seasonality, depending on our sell-through rates. So that's been very interesting. I'm really keen to see how that moves forward over the next couple of months as well. Um, because we were doing it manually, we definitely had an overstocking problem. I think we were in the UK alone, we were probably looking at around about 800,000 to 900,000 euros of stock. In reality, I think that's at least probably 50% more than we should have, especially with the UK having such good supply chain and the supply chains being very fast. So I don't see any reason why over the next 6 months that doesn't reduce down to I'm hoping somewhere between 350, 400,000 euros of cash released back into the business because of that overstock.
And when we go to the US, what have you seen there? We spoke about how many touch points do you now need with your suppliers, and if you feel comfortable, perhaps sharing what are the suppliers, if that is up to you, if you want to share that or not. Um, how do you now replenish? What are the savings from just-in-time delivery? And how much is now just-in-time delivery thanks to the AI-powered procurement app that you have bought from GelatoConnect?
So in both the UK and America, we have one person employed full time at both sites, just managing, or they were just managing ordering. Um, Now, if you look at America in particular, we use Sanmar, we use SNS for our apparel, and we use Stanley Stella, and it was one person's job every day to download a report, to go through that report, work out the cheapest place to buy it between Sanmar and SNS, go and purchase those orders. And you can imagine how this really very quickly scales to just out of control. Especially anyone that's in the apparel game, anyone that prints a lot of t-shirts knows the amount of SKUs that you're offering is vast. And trying to manage that manually, mistakes happen, you overstock, it's the same problems that we always talk about. Now, all of that has been replaced with one button that says create order. We press that, it pulls everything together that we need to buy, whether that's just in time stock or it's replenishment based on the AI. And that then fires off the API calls to, in this example, Sanmar and SNS. That's it. So suddenly in America, we've just been able to release that person that was, let's say, bogged down, having to do a lot of manual work, a lot of intervention. We've just completely freed that person up to now go and focus on, you know, positive change to the business. What's the next thing that person can then do to help drive Print Clever forward?
And how much, if we translate this into a number, how much is now, thanks to the AI-powered procurement app, how much is now just in time? And if you bring that into numbers, what does that mean in terms of money you don't need to put on the shelves, roughly speaking?
So I would say at least now 60% of apparel stock in America is now just on time. That's leveraging the AI, leveraging the warehouse location, automated ordering systems. Um, you are easily talking north of $100,000 in America alone, again, of what has gone from in-stock product to just in time. Um,
And that is just in the US, and then you have roughly how much in the UK, do you think?
of just in time, sorry.
Yeah, well, money you can now put in the bank account instead of on the warehouse, thanks to deploying GelatoConnect.
Three to 400,000 euros. So across the both sites, you know, in dollars, you're probably nearly $700,000,
Yeah.
which
Okay.
as a business, when we're trying to expand, when we're trying to move into new markets, when we're trying to, to grow and really develop the business, um, having access to additional funds means you don't have to go and finance it through your bank. It's that those savings have massive amplified effects throughout the rest of the business.
Mm. And then you also mentioned when we met in Lisbon a bit of warehouse challenge, space challenge in the UK that you now also can remove from your thoughts about how to build a business, right?
So in the UK, we struggle with space, and more of what we do now, and when we look at products, when we look at stock, comes down to how much space that product takes up. To the point where questions have been asked around us looking at a new site, looking at expanding out. The cost to do that obviously is astronomical. In actual fact, I don't think the problem necessarily is the space we have today. I think it is that we were not using the space correctly. And
Exactly.
actually, when you start to look at this, when you start to move things forward, um, and really optimize down on the stock we're holding, the just in time, we end up in a world where we do have enough space. We don't have to go to all those extra costs. It's just managing it properly. Um,
And a significant amount of cash unlocked to be put in the bank account and perhaps go on a Christmas trip with the family. A nice Christmas trip.
yeah.
If we go into we're now at procurement, let's move into workflow. If you can speak a bit about what do you see now when you've deployed GelatoConnect both in the UK as well as in the US? What has happened?
Can I just say one other thing on procurement, if
Yeah,
possible?
please,
Because
please.
I think people, I think people miss the, um, I think people maybe don't understand the power of getting this part right. I think we all fail, we all fall into a world of focusing on what we see in front of us, which is normally the factories and the people working in the factories. But actually, we looked at the numbers and we spend three times as much on material cost than we do on staff and on logistics. That's We have to work three times harder on workflow and logistics to save the same pounds or dollar amount than we do on procurement. So really getting that right, working with you guys, making sure we're paying the best price for products, that we're getting the right amount of products, and it's in the building when we need it in the building, is so much bigger in terms of benefit to Print Clever than potentially the other steps. Not that they're not important, not that they don't add a benefit, but actually, I think so many people just overlook procurement as just a thing we have to do. And actually, we've discovered through this process that actually it could be the thing that saves us the most money and adds the most amount of revenue, or sorry, most amount of profit onto the business is actually getting that part right.
And it is about software, it is about AI, and it also is about the economies of scale that you join when you sign up with Gelato. Speaking about AI and software, if we go into the workflow then, what is it that you now see in Print Clever?
Um, the only way I can really describe it is really complete transparency of everything. Um, we can look at my phone right now and I can tell you in less than 5 seconds how many orders we have to dispatch today to remain in our SLA.
Mm,
Like that's just power at your fingertips that um, you could check anywhere in the world. And as a business owner, really without having to dig in, without having to phone anyone, exactly where the business is trading today and if there's a problem or if everything is okay.
And that is not only as your previous, you had previously different software suppliers for paper, and then you had apparel, and then you had mugs, and you're now having only Gelato Connect for all the products, and
Right.
that's really what you're seeing the benefits of here.
So we had we used to live in a world where every day it was very difficult for production, especially when they were then communicating with our account managers and with business development, because you've just got stuff all over the place. So you've got different systems, different softwares. That creates problems when you're trying to track performance, SLAs. Um, if there's any bottlenecks or problems, that makes it very, very challenging.
Mm.
Right now, it's just blanket. Everyone has a very good understanding straight away exactly where we are and if there's any problems that we need to address.
And what do the people working in production say to you about Gelato Connect, and what is their experience, and how has that translated into from you as a business owner? What has that translated into in terms of number of people you needed before versus now?
So what we call route to competency, so how long it takes to train somebody, is consistently coming down, I would say, across the system as the staff get better and better at it, and then as they start to train new staff as well. Um, that's key for us. Apparel is very seasonal, and at Christmas we will double our workforce, and so being able to train somebody in a matter of minutes or hours versus days is obviously imperative and a massive cost saver. If you dig into workflow, and probably one little example for you, we've completely now transformed the way that we intake that just in time stock. So we've got the just in time stock ordering process, which we spoke about. and is fantastic. And now, when that actually comes into the facilities, um, we estimate at least one person, potentially two. At Christmas, we would have 5 or 6 people just managing that stock going into the building. And I think pretty much all of that has been now gone away.
Mm.
Just that workflow and the changes that we've made to how that operates through the factory.
Mm. So in the workflow, you mentioned when we met in Lisbon, that the people working in production and in operations were like on fire because it feels like the next generation
Yeah.
of production.
In the departments that we would call hard goods, so this is paper, canvases, mugs,
Mhm.
cut and sew, they have seen a huge transformation over the last couple of weeks. This is really down to, I would say we were very paper based before. It was a lot of paper invoices, and that gets very challenging when you're moving thousands of orders a day around. Um, Pretty much all of that has been replaced with what we call with you guys something called an info strip and a barcode. And that has made printing so much more efficient. That has made not just every single step of production. It has felt like a massive change in the hard goods departments as that automation has really started to take hold.
And that translating the workflow into numbers. I know you also spoke a bit. Perhaps we should speak about that because you have mentioned the importance of security from some of your clients also.
Mhm. Yeah. So we Print Clever as a business, and I just give you a little bit of background. So our main focus is we work with global brands and we provide merchandise solutions to those brands. Cybersecurity and ensuring that that data is secure has been something that we've worked very hard on over the last couple of years, but something that our customers are becoming more and more I would say more and more strict on, and the requirements that they are asking us for is certainly harder as well. We've just signed a new client. It's probably one of the biggest gaming brands in the world, and their requirement was ISO 27001 data security, which to know instantly that, yeah, that's a tick box, Gelato have got that, everything's in place, has just potentially stopped a huge bottleneck and a huge roadblock there with us having to go and to work out how we can provide that to our customer, leveraging obviously Gelato and the software. It's just that's changed the game for us really.
That's yeah, that's so good to hear. And before we move into logistics, Ryan, if you would just recap, summarize, what are some of the metrics in the workflow that you've seen?
So we have hard goods. We have easily been able to reallocate at least one FTE in terms of just that's just print room, and that's just the management of the orders coming in, and then the pushing of those orders onto the production lines. In garments, I obviously mentioned that, and this again, this is just the intaking of the garments.
Mm,
That's at least one person saving on a normal day. At Christmas, that amplifies up at least 3 or 4 times.
mm,
As you then work into the other areas, the intaking of any kind of stock and the way that we're using the mobile app to scan that stock away, that save resource and save time for the supervisors. They can now focus on their other tasks, and then you go and put that into America as well.
mm.
We're talking about 2 people across 2 countries in procurement that have had their time freed up. You're talking about multiple people, probably at least another 6 to 10 people that are now able to focus on other parts of the business because the workflows have changed or the way we handle that job has now changed as well.
That's absolutely music to our ears. Yeah, it makes me feel really proud, and there is a big team behind this at Print Clever, but also at Gelato, working day and night to unlock these type of savings. Um, and I mean, what I see in the apparel industry is also that the logistics is a big challenge and a big thing that the PSPs need to address. So historically, the whole industry has focused a lot around workflow, but actually, as it turns out, in the apparel industry and also in the paper industry, the big challenges are really in procurement also and logistics. So if we go to the last part of your production flow and supply chain, what is it that you've seen in logistics now after you deployed GelatoConnect?
And just to reiterate your point, I think what you've said there is absolutely spot on. The workflow element, my labor cost accounts for roughly 25%. If I look at procurement,
Mm,
labor, and logistics,
mm, mm,
and so by by just focusing on that part, I'm only seeing the potential of 25% of my savings versus looking at it all as one unit, and then that's where I think it really changes.
mm,
Um, the logistics side for us has been very interesting. America has seen massive savings, at least 40%. I mentioned to you a job that we've recently done, and it was over half of the cost. One job, roughly $30,000 in logistics saving, and that's that sounds ridiculous because really that's I haven't done anything. You know, we signed up with Gelato. We looked at our shipping. We obviously looked at the prices that we were going to achieve with you guys, and the system just does everything else. Like, don't really worry about it. Um, it just works.
And you have, I mean, obviously through the economies of scale, you have that type of effect. But if you would divide it into software versus smart scaled carrier selection, you've now spoken about the smart scaled carrier selection. But what about the software? If you would just speak about the software, logistics software, what do you see there?
The actual operators themselves, and it's going to really sound like I brush over this, but because it is this simple, they scan the barcode, the label comes out. Like it really, we have spent so much time in the past working on integrations, working on APIs, connecting in with shippers. That's now just been completely turned on its head. We need to integrate a new courier. It's literally go onto the AI chat, put in the details, give it the API keys and credentials. It's connected. The guys downstairs don't see any of that, of course, but literally all they see is scan the barcode, label comes out, and that is done.
And from as a business owner, you spoke about complete transparency previously, but what is it that you can access and what is it that you can see from the logistics part of our software?
Mhm. Um, Again, like everything. I can see how much money we spent today on shipping. I can see how much money we spent in the last 30 days on shipping. I can see how efficient my team are being at shipping, or any station for that matter. But just on shipping, so we can see how many parcels we've shipped today, what it's cost us to ship today, how many people that's taken to ship those parcels today, and really, and that's the information you can get at the touch of a button, let alone when you actually then start to really sit down and go through all of the data that that the system records.
Mm. And so when sometimes I'm hearing from a PSP we meet at one of the events or one of the industry gatherings, I'm going to try to build this on my own, or I have already built this. Now we've worked together for a good amount of a quarter, perhaps even more, and you really deployed it and you're truly leaning in. What would you say to a PSP that says to me or to you, I can build this on my own?
The first thing that comes to my mind actually is that I will save in shipping probably more than the system will cost me this year. So, like, and I don't see how um, that would make it a viable option for anyone to go and build themselves. In essence, you've given me the software for free. Like that's how it feels right now. And so I'm I'm saving money on shipping. That's paying for my software development, which is just, all for the software. That's phenomenal. I haven't got to worry about anything else. Um, we've all tried, or I certainly have tried in the past to play with things, to build things, and you don't understand the lost opportunity when you all get sucked into that. Everyone gets drawn into this shiny thing over here and building that and working on this project, and then all of a sudden you've lost this massive opportunity on the other side of the room because everyone's focused on building software when it's already there. I guess in the same argument, if I turned around to you and said, "Why have you not rebuilt Microsoft Word?"
Mm. Mm.
Because it's there, and because why would you need to?
Mm. And when you think about um, the software power, because again, you mentioned, the cost reductions in shipping, but if you just think about the AI power that you've experienced or the software power, um, and the fact that it's procurement and logistics surrounding your actual print operations, what type of arguments can you give to me or to a salesperson working in Gelato when they get this? We were at the online print symposium in Munich the other week, and Alistair is leading Europe. Said one PSP said, "Oh, I can build this on my own." And if you just look at the software that you've experienced, um, what would you say to that person, or what should we say to that person?
It's a good question.
Let's
I
take the AI estimator.
I, I don't even know, and the reason for my pause is I don't even think I have truly understood yet the power of what it can achieve for Print Clever and what it could achieve for anyone else. And I can give you like small sound bites or little snippets of things that I see happen every day. Or the production manager came to me today and said she loved the AI chat. And that's her. That's one person, her level, where she's had a few problems. She's asked the AI chat, and it's given her the answer. And like I I really don't think yet I even necessarily understand the full capability. And so if I or anyone else wanted to go and build it, how could I build it when I don't even know what it is yet? And I think that's probably the power of where we're going with this. It
But
is so powerful.
if we take procurement in the US, that you aggressively deployed quickly, and you look at the software that you have seen surface,
Yeah.
um, how would you build that with your team?
Well, you in my opinion, you couldn't. This is direct API integrations in with, let's say, America's biggest apparel providers, and as well as every other category, packaging, um, framing, wood, you know, you would need a team of people just to maintain those APIs,
And
let
the
alone
AI estimator of what to buy and when to buy it and where to buy and
the AI estimator is I'm very, very excited about to be able to release a tool to our customers that enables them to go on, get an instant price. Pricing in apparel is, I would say it is confusing. There are a lot of different options, different print techniques, different variables to give that to um, not even just to my staff, but to a customer who can go on and instantly receive a price back because the AI has been able to leverage where we buy from at the price we buy from. It knows the print techniques. It knows the cost of those techniques and the labor cost associated with that. It knows how that product's packed, and so it knows what the shipping cost is. That's ridiculous.
Mm. And so if we just go procurement to sum up and kind of at the end of the podcast here, if we would sum up the full-time employee, the FTE savings, the unlocking of capital in procurement, the same in the workflow, the FTEs and the increased output efficiency with the same units within the same time. And then we move to the FTE savings on an annual basis in logistics, and also the shipping savings annually. Like if we would sum up, how would that calculation from your perspective now look, Ryan?
Well over $1 million. All of
Mm,
that together, well over $1 million.
mm. And so,
Which, sorry, go on.
no, you please.
I was just going to say to then have $1 million that you can deploy those people into the next business ideas, the next evolution of print clever growth, or frees up the cash to then go and invest in the next equipment and the next journey we want to go on. That's huge.
But just also, if we just break it down, Ryan, um, how much in you have one full-time employee, you said, in procurement in the UK and then one in the US.
Right.
So that's roughly 120,000 perhaps. Then you have unlocked, you said roughly $700,000 in the warehouse, roughly for US and the UK.
Yeah.
Then you said two full-time employees in the workflow, or how many people in the workflow do you think across all the facilities?
No, I think across all the facilities, including seasonal peaks, you could be, I think I said earlier, 6 to 8, maybe even 10.
Okay, so if we would say 10, we would then roughly speak about 600,000,
Mhm.
roughly, including, everything, right? But then you also have how much more output per same machines and per same time period, would you say?
I don't even know if we've been able to quantify that yet. There is no doubt that the wide format machines, etc., are able to output quicker with automated impositions and the like, but I'm not even sure we've been able to quantify
Uh-huh.
that.
Okay. And then in logistics, how many full-time employees across all your facilities, US, UK,
Um,
annualized?
Probably another 10. Well, there's probably 10 people employed in those
Yeah.
sections annualized today. I would probably say that's at least another couple of people. Generally we find the issues where you make real savings is where you have problems, and where people have to step in and get involved in an order. That's when you've got such a high workflow of orders going through. Um, and I think that's probably in shipping where we'll be able to save the most amount of time or create the most amount of efficiency, is just cutting out those issues.
Okay. And then also, as you scale for peak, you
Yeah.
don't need the same amount of people.
Mhm.
And then what about just cost reductions by picking the right carrier at the right time and then accessing Gelato's economies of scale annualized? What do you think roughly from a shipping perspective you can
I think,
reduce your cost with?
I think year one, we were hoping for around about 250,000 in cost reduction.
Quarter of a million. So we're actually speaking about 1.5 to $2 million
Mhm.
annualized
Yeah.
in just unleashed efficiency and capital.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something, we both should feel really proud of, and a big thank you to your team and to the Gelato team. And so going forward, what are your expectations now for 2026? And if you could share something to another PSP listening in on this that has, sitting and thinking about GelatoConnect. So
Mhm.
two questions in one: 2026 and your own thoughts and dreams about this year, and then what would you say to someone that is sitting and thinking about joining GelatoConnect?
There's something else actually that I think this probably answers both your questions, but potentially we've not actually spoken about it yet. And actually, the thing that probably worries me the most about this year is how the world and localized shipping, I think, is becoming more and more apparent, duties and taxes around the world. And while today I can cover the UK and America quite well, um, for example, Europe is the next one that worries me. And I think through the events we've been through with Gelato and the other relationships we've made with other printers, um, it's made me realize that actually we're all in this together, and actually building this community of printers together
Mm.
and helping each other will fundamentally get us all where we want to go. Um, that's probably what I'm most excited about this year in terms of how I can leverage Gelato to help me build relationships with people who can help me and I can help, but will solve real world issues around things like duty, being able to give work to other printers in Europe or Australia or other places around the world, that I actually think we'll use more than probably, or as at least as much as everything else we've already spoken about.
Mm. That's a great ending. And also, I would just like to add, thank you so much, Ryan, for pushing us, asking for difficult new features, and really leaning in and giving a ton of energy back to the Gelato team. They all really, really appreciate working with you and everyone you've surrounded yourself with in Print Clever. So thank you so much. And we're looking forward to just deepening this partnership as we move into 2026. Thank you.
Thanks.